And the third thing is not to spread yourself too thin. Again, there are 1,000 different ways to market something. Don't try and do every shiny new platform that's out there. Don't try and make every type of content that is possible. I'm personally more of a content marketer than anything else. And I've learned that trying to create content that is more spread thin than, very helpful is kind of the downfall. So know where you want it, know who your audience is, know the type of content that they want, and don't be everything to everyone.
Hi, welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Brian Mattocks. With me today is Rebecca Fulton of Kliken.
Hello, nice to be with you, Ryan.
So if you could tell our listeners a little bit more about your background, how you get involved in marketing, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. I have been in marketing for virtually my entire career. I've worked for small companies, large companies, franchise organizations. And my last two companies have been with startups, which I've found that I really enjoy. And most recently, I'm with Kliken, which is an online marketing company.
So what do you like about startups?
I like the flexibility. I like that you have the ability to kind of maneuver quickly. You can adjust very fast. I like that there's not a lot of people to kind of go through in order to make a shift. Because as you know, marketing changes very quickly. And trying to get buy-in a lot of times from a larger organization is very difficult.
Right. A lot of politics.
Exactly.
A lot of people need to have their seal of approval on the work you're doing.
Absolutely.
So you said you've worked with several startups now. What's the apart from the kind of organizational agility, what are the things about working in a startup that, from a marketing perspective, represent good challenges or exciting bits of work?
So I found that the reason that I'm kind of drawn to startups is that there's such an array of opportunities that you can lead the company towards. There's the abilities to pivot if you find that you work well in a different part of the industry that you're in. You can play with the messaging more. There's not an established background of what the company should be. It's more what the company has the ability to be, what the potential is. And I really enjoy the part of marketing that involves really figuring out who the company is, who the audience is, and how to really make that connection.
So that discovery process, if I'm summarizing it correctly, is really where you get your joy. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So what are the parts of that? Like, what are the major moving steps in your discovery process for these kind of startups? Because a lot of us, when they get into marketing, we're kind of handed, here's your ideal client profile, here's who you want to talk to, here's our core messaging, go. This is the brand identity. You're doing a fair amount of crafting that on the fly. So what's your process look like?
For the several organizations I've recently worked for, the first thing I always do is I kind of sit back, I absorb the information that I'm given without really internalizing it. So what I want to do is I go to the employees first. I ask them what they think our company does, who they think our audience is, what the problem is that they think we're solving, and really get a feel for what the different parts of the company feel we do. Because I've found that a lot of times development doesn't agree with what maybe the executives agree with. And they don't agree with maybe what the strong suits are or what the best audience for a product or service is. And so that's really where I start with the people that I work with. And then I go out and I take a survey essentially of the customers. I want to see really where they are, what their pain points are. I go through a lot of these support messages and say, okay, well, what do we get the most complaints about? What are the things people need the most help with? What are the kind of recurring messages that we find? And that's what I use to then go back to anything that I'm given and say, okay, well, yes, this is probably on message, or no, we really need to kind of shift this a little bit.
So how do you manage the disconnects when So it sounds like you've got three potential disconnects, if I'm imagining it correctly. You've got disconnects between essentially the line, the folks working the line, and management. Then a disconnect potentially between either of those parties and your customer. How do you manage those disconnects? I imagine the resolution for each of them is going to be slightly different.
Yes and no. I found that the resolution, for the most part, the company and the employees want to do what's in the best interest of the customers because ultimately that's what makes the company successful. And I found that if you go to the employees or the executives and say, okay, this is what I found. This is the trend that I see. These are the issues that I think that we can solve for very easily. And this is kind of our low-hanging fruit. It's very simple to get them all on board. The more taxing problem, I suppose, is that sometimes it's how we message it after that. So it's not as hard to get people on board with saying, okay, yeah, I agree that these are our problems, or these are the things we can work on, or these are the things that are our strong suits. It's more of how do we then move forward and kind of adjust messaging or, you know, shift if we need to.
So now you're working at Kliken. And so what makes that business kind of hard to market?
So Kliken is an online marketing platform. The thing that makes it hard to market is that it's an online marketing platform. There are a lot of them out there. People are often very confused as to who to choose. Should they go with an agency? What's the difference between an agency and a DIY platform, which is essentially what we are. And so, especially because we do, Google, Facebook, open web marketing, people don't understand why they wouldn't just go direct to them, which of course they obviously can, what the benefit of using us is, and really kind of the process. I think that there's a lot of confusion with customers across the board in any industry of how do I know that I'm making the right decision? They're afraid of wasting money. They're afraid of wasting time. They don't know who to trust. So that's kind of the challenge that we face on a daily basis.
Your ideal client profile, what does it look like? Who are you going after? Who represents kind of the best potential customer for Kliken?
Our ideal customer is a small to medium business, one to several employees. Been in business about a year and a half, 2 years at the minimum. And the reason I say that is because we want to make sure that they have done all the appropriate steps to make themselves successful for the first couple years. And then we cater to both e-commerce businesses and service businesses. So we don't have a preference necessarily one or the other. We can provide services for both.
So that sounds like a pretty broad range of people. How are you funneling folks through to become a customer?
So a lot of the successes that we've had so far and the way that the company was originally set up and built was that we have deep channel integrations. So we integrate with companies like Wix or Ecwid or WooCommerce across the board, and not just in the US, also internationally. So there are some like one.com that specialize in other countries versus in the US. And we work with them. We're either in their marketplace or integrated directly into their control panel as their marketing solution. And so that's how we've traditionally gotten new customers. And then with the introduction of Kliken Ads, which is our own personal ad service, we don't necessarily rely on channel, but they also have access to it.
So that channel partner strategy has been effective for a lot of the guests we've had on the show. What are you doing to develop and nurture those channel partners? How do you find new ones? What does that process look like for you guys?
Our CEO has been really instrumental in fostering those channel relationships and the partnerships throughout the years. So he's really kind of the front line for that conversation. But we have meetings or emails, either weekly, monthly, quarterly, with a lot of our business partners and say, okay, well, what are you hearing that your customers need? How can we help that solution? Are you hearing that they need something we're not providing? And so we honestly are very interactive and we communicate a lot with our partners to make sure that what we're offering is solving a problem versus just assuming that everything is good as is.
Gotcha. So I'm going to ask you a difficult question, I suppose. What, how's your CEO finding these new channel partner opportunities? What is he doing, she doing specifically? What's going on there?
I can't speak directly to what he's doing. All I can tell you is that he's for new channel partners, he kind of, reaches out as either a cold call, cold email, and just introduces himself, gives a little background on the company, and slowly works his way up the ranks if he needs to. But the good thing is he's kind of developed so many relationships over the years. He can leverage some of those to say, hey, we work with these other companies. They've trusted us for, 7, 8, 10, 12 years, however long it's been. And I really think we should have a conversation. And then we do have some that reach out directly to us because they've either heard about us, they know of us, and they want to figure out how to partner with us.
Gotcha. So how does the channel partner management kind of from an ongoing basis, how does that connect into the work you're doing, running the marketing department?
So the good thing is most of the marketing is pretty standard across the board for the channel partners. There's minor differences in either how our application looks on their channel or what they need from us. Some of them are white labeling it to their customers. So there's some minor differences, but for the most part, as long as we're not changing our core products, the marketing is very standard. And so it doesn't necessarily impact me to have all these partnerships other than to just be able to say, hey, we have these amazing partnerships that we fostered throughout the years. And we're really, we are very proud to be part of that.
Okay. So what percentage of your sort of business growth is coming from those partners versus any of the direct to market stuff you're already doing?
I would say that a majority of our business comes direct from those channel partnerships. And that's again, because we built our business working with channels. We built our business working with partners, and making sure that we had a solution that they could use for their customers. So that is why a majority of what we've always done has been part of channel. Now, the direct to market stuff is growing. As I mentioned, Kliken Ads is a newer product. It's only been out on the market for less than a year. And so I expect that will grow significantly over time.
Gotcha. So what is the strategy that you're using to kind of work with that? What's worked from a messaging perspective, but maybe what hasn't worked as well? I'm curious to learn more there.
So we started out actually releasing it to our channel partners, especially the ones that we've worked very closely with, and just offering another solution that's outside Google and Facebook, because those are the two channels that most people know, they're most familiar with. And again, we offer solutions for both Google and Facebook, but we wanted to give them a third option that was open web, which means that it's not just confined to those ecosystems. They can go outside of that. They can, and the ad buying is done across the internet versus just in the walled garden. And so we started out just doing that, and then we are slowly introducing new marketing that promotes that. Just on some of our social channels, we do some paid advertising. We even use our own platform to promote the same product.
So, how many times have you had to go back to your dev team and say, "Yeah, this isn't working for us, so it can't be working for them"?
Well, the good thing is our dev team works really closely with us. We have weekly meetings, and so a lot of times they'll actually come to me and say, "We found something that we're not quite sure is working correctly." So the good thing is I don't have to go to them necessarily with all of our issues.
Nice.
They're pretty good at responding and notifying us.
Using your own tool certainly does help too from a sort of frontline support perspective as well.
Absolutely. It's really nice to be able to use it firsthand, really see how it works, how it operates, and it helps give us some, new best practices and new tips and tricks that we can offer to our customers.
So what do your growth goals look like for the next couple of years in terms of, your objectives? I imagine the revenue split, you want to try and drive more of it to the direct to market. What do your objectives look like?
Absolutely. I think you hit a nail on the head. Our objective is really to grow our Kliken Ads products. And we have two components to that. One is more of a shopping e-commerce side of it, and one caters more to service businesses. So it's a lot of display advertising. And so really focusing on getting that up and moving in the right direction, which it obviously has done very well for the first year, but we're excited to see where that goes. And then also we want to build more channel relationships. Our goal is to increase increase adoption with the ones that we have. And then also build a couple new ones out that we've had a lot of customers ask if we can integrate with. Additionally, we have some new products that we're working on. And so we are hoping to get those released. And so that is part of the growth goals. And they all feed each other. So like the new products will help drive into current products, and current products likewise drive into the new ones.
Right. So you'll be your own ecosystem before long.
That's the goal.
I like it. So, so with that, are you indicated your current revenue split is mostly the channel partner stuff, and then the ads are coming along. What's your ideal split look like?
I think our ideal split is probably closer to 60-40. We will always depend on channel relationships. We know that those are important. They're vital to our survival as well as our promotion. But I think that ultimately we want to also have the ability to be kind of our own driver and our own revenue generator, and not necessarily have to rely on the relationships. And we want them to be more additive.
Gotcha. So with all of that said, the channel partner sort of web development sort of angle and all the stuff that comes with that, how concerned are you guys about AI disrupting the business?
Well, interestingly enough, we are not concerned about AI being disruptive for us necessarily. We've had some level of AI built into our platform since we started. We have one PhD that is our head of AI. And then we have one of our co-founders is also a professor in, data and AI, over here at USF. And so we've always had some level of AI built in, and our new product, Kliken Ads, has the GPT component built in. So we actually leverage AI in a way that is beneficial and helpful for us and for the customers. It helps generate better images, better descriptions, better text. And ultimately it will probably help ensure that, store feeds are properly set up for SEO and search. And so we view AI as a good thing, at least for our specific product.
Gotcha. So when Wix or Weebly or any of these channels that you're maybe integrated in start to have problems with their client base because AI is eating their lunch, are you not worried about that affecting your ecosystem much?
Well, I think that the customers that they have, they understand that they're providing a service, they're providing a product that AI in a lot of circumstances can't replace. Like AI is not going to make products for them. They're not going to provide the human element to a service business. Sure, there are components that their customers are, I'm sure, very concerned with. But I think that if you give them a way to easily, quickly, effectively market their businesses so that they can hopefully stay ahead of that curve, that I think that it alleviates some of that tension and some of that concern.
Gotcha. But with such a strong percentage of the business being contingent on the channel partners, I imagine you've got to start developing a backup plan just in case.
Well, and again, that's why we make our own products as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So, who should reach out to you, and how can they get a hold of you if they wanted to learn more about what you're doing?
I think anyone who's interested in partnering with us, anyone who wants to build any sort of relationship with a marketing company or wants to help cross promote, or really any business that is interested in potentially using the platform, whether it's our Kliken ads platform, Facebook, Google, whatever it happens to be. If anyone is interested in learning more, please feel free to reach out.
Gotcha. And in your marketing journey so far, what are your three biggest takeaways? What have you learned that you want to share with our listeners?
I've learned that there's you're never going to know everything. I would never want to be someone who says that I am the guru of marketing. Ask me anything. There are so many ways to market businesses that I could not even begin to tell you the best one unless I've actually talked to you. Um, I've learned that listening is probably the greatest skill that I've learned to leverage in my marketing journey. And that involves asking questions too. So asking questions, not expecting that you already know the answer, asking questions to really understand what the answer is and internalizing that to make decisions. Because I think that a lot of people have gone into their marketing careers saying, I already know what I want to do. I already have a plan. I already have a vision for what this is going to look like. And I think that it clouds judgment. So I found that listening and asking questions is one of the key things that I found is important in marketing.
Mm.
And the third thing is not to spread yourself too thin. Again, there are 1,000 different ways to market something. Don't try and do every shiny new platform that's out there. Don't try and make every type of content that is possible. I'm personally more of a content marketer than anything else. And I've learned that trying to create content that is more spread thin than, very helpful is kind of the downfall. So know where you want it, know who your audience is, know the type of content that they want, and don't don't be everything to everyone.
Gotcha. I love it. Thank you so much for your time today, Rebecca. I really appreciate your insights.
Thank you for having me.